Today we have a little bit of background noise because the 3D printer is running, but that's okay because this video is about 3D printed accessories for Mevo cameras. Now we're going to talk specifically about the Mevo Start heat shield that I've designed and begun to sell through my merchandise page. It has been shown in sunlit conditions to lower the operating temperature of a Mevo Start by a little bit more than 10 degrees Fahrenheit. That may be enough to keep the Mevo running on a hot summer day, depending on how much heat is being generated, if there is any kind of breeze to blow the heat off of it. But I'll show you the specifics of that design in a moment, but I wanted to show you where it started. So when I still had a Mevo Plus, I saw the need to mount lights and microphones to that Mevo Plus, so I came up with this little print. The premise of it is the Mevo Plus is a round object. It's a circle. And so to find the diameter of that circle and then be able to print something off the side of that circle really became only limited by creativity. So cold shoe mounts, GoPro mount on a Mevo Plus that would fit over the opening for the lens here. And this little device served me very well as long as I was running a Mevo Plus. When the Mevo Start came out, I wanted to be able to do the same kind of thing with the design of a Mevo Start, which when you look at it is really just a circle cut in half with two parallel lines running between it. And so if you knew the distance between the two parallel lines, you knew the diameter of the circle. So you could take that circle, separate it by two parallel lines, and have what you needed for a 3D print for the Mevo Start. And there is a version of it. Once you have the basic design, again, what you print is only limited by your imagination. And so we have things like the Mevo cold shoe sleeve. This fits over the back of a Mevo, like so. It allows you 3 attachment points for lights or microphones. I have actually even attached other Mevo cameras to these using an adjustable mount like so, and it has streamed baseball games with one Mevo and 2 others attached to it and hanging off of it. Did very well. White one that I show here is just a wind muff that covers this one slides on the front, and that would cover the 3 microphone array there at the top so that the wind coming across that would not be such a problem. That's really not enough fabric to do the job that I wanted it to, so I abandoned that and went to a mini shotgun microphone. This is a plate that hangs up off the top of, fits on the back, and I've used it to mount a few things as well, things that can clip onto something. I had a microphone that could lay in here and it would pinch together there at the back and be able to do. Useful for a time. I've abandoned that design as well since then. But what I really wanted to show you was what to expect if you order a heat shield that is my design. So to be able to show you that, I'm going to pull one of the prints that I have ready, and I'm going to show you some of the fails that I have as well. So what I have is the back half of a Mevo Start heat shield. Now this one has not been processed. I've not pulled any of the stringing out of it. So you can see that it still has strings. When you melt plastic at 240 degrees Celsius, you're going to have some stringing that happens. You may have a 3D printer that doesn't, but I've never had one that would do it perfectly. So there has to be a little bit of processing before they get mailed out because there's strings and little globs that get stuck to the inside there. You can kind of see some of it. But that one fits across the back half of a Mevo Start. So you can tell that there are 2 levels, right? So the inner ring there is what fits onto the camera. The outer is what provides the heat protection. And there's just a little bit of a gap between the two with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attachment points printed in. So you can see that once that is seated there, there's a little bit of a gap to allow their airflow to be there. I've said that backwards. That actually sits on the front of the Mevo camera. So then the back half is going to be very similar to that 3 cold shoe sleeve, but it is again a two-tiered design. So you have an inner ring and an outer ring to create that space. And then these two just simply fit together so that there is no black showing in between. Now, it's a little bit longer than the Mevo itself. So if you can push it a little bit forward and catch that protection, that's fine if it's not in the way, or you can push it a little bit backward and catch some protection, that's fine. This one is open backed, so you can get to charging port, SD card, and on-off switch along with your 3.5mm jack. Some of the ones that I print will have this extra heat protection. I don't know that the extra does any good, and that's really hard for me to get to stick to my build plate, and so I may abandon that at some point depending on what kind of feedback I get. But that's the design, and that's what offers the protection. You have, let's see if I can find it on the camera there, you have that space. And that space is what does so much good for heat protection. It allows, a white design allows for reflection instead of absorption of the heat. And then the space allows for air to move across and take some of the heat away from the camera itself. I'll remind you that the Mevo Start is designed for its heat dissipation to come out through this port on the bottom, through this mounting unit on the bottom, because it is metal, and the way that everything is put together on the inside, heat can draw down away from this, and so long as you're using something that is metal to mount it to, it's going to draw into this. So having an aluminum and steel arm here, great for conductivity out the bottom to keep the temperature lower. And then to combine that with something that doesn't absorb heat, black, of course, absorbs heat very well, white reflects it, and so that allows us to be able to see that that decrease in operating temperature compared to one that's sitting in the sun and absorbing heat. Now, the prints themselves sometimes come out looking really, really nice, and sometimes come out looking really, really rough. And that's just the nature of 3D printing. Again, you're taking plastic and you're melting it at high temperatures and you're hoping for the best. Well, this one came out looking kind of rough. It didn't want to stick at first, so you can see that this has lifted a little bit and is not as smooth or not as finished as this side. Now, would this one still work? Absolutely. It would do everything you wanted it to. You could mount a light or a microphone in this cold shoe, and the one on top. It's going to slide on just like it's supposed to, but it's a little bit rough looking. I probably won't mail this one out because I don't want folks to have to question whether they got my best or not. But 3D printed accessories for the Mevo Start can be an incredibly useful addition to your setup. If you have an idea for a 3D print for the Mevo Start, would you mind leaving that in the comments? Would you let me know what things you've thought of, you've dreamed up, that we might could even put together